All right. Ready to take a deep dive into Hempex and their whole hemp flower approach?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
We've got our hands on some interesting stuff today.
Yeah.
Product descriptions, their marketing briefs, really getting a peek behind the curtain.
Cool.
And one thing's for sure, they are not just focused on CBD content, you know?
Right.
They are really, really emphasizing quality and how they handle their flower.
Yeah, and what I find interesting is how they're kind of making this comparison to how, like, high-end cannabis is handled.
Oh, interesting.
You know, they use terms like drying, curing, hand-trimming terms you would normally associate with, like, a much more, I don't know, shall we say, specialized cannabis market.
It's like they're trying to elevate the perception of hemp flower by saying, hey, we treat this with the same care and attention as some of the, top shelf cannabis products.
Precisely, and I think that is a very smart strategy.
Yeah.
Because it's not just about appealing to the senses, it's also a way for them to kind of set themselves apart in a market that can often be very much about, who has the highest CBD percentage.
Right.
So they're kind of like taking it to that next level.
It's an experience.
Exactly.
It's not just a product,
Absolutely. And they're doing this for both their indoor and outdoor products.
Interesting.
Which I think is also worth noting.
Yeah, because they do offer both
They do.
indoor and outdoor grown hemp flower.
Mm-hmm.
And they're very specific about the benefits of each, which I find interesting.
Absolutely. It's almost like choosing between, a perfectly controlled lab environment
Right.
versus like the open fields.
Right. And each one is going to yield a different type of flower.
Exactly.
And more importantly, appeal to different consumer preferences.
Absolutely. Yeah. So with indoor cultivation, they have that maximum control, right?
Total control.
Consistent lighting, temperature, humidity, and that leads to those like picture perfect buds. Very dense.
Yeah.
Potentially higher potencies as well.
Which is what some consumers are looking for.
Exactly. They want that high CBD content.
Yeah.
Now, on the flip side, you have the outdoor and greenhouse cultivation, and I think they see this as a way to offer more affordable options.
Right. Makes sense.
While still, having that focus on quality.
Because there's a whole segment of consumers who are drawn to that idea of the more naturally grown, sun-kissed.
Absolutely. The sustainable aspect, the more natural aspect.
Right, exactly.
And, there's a perception sometimes that outdoor grown might be lower quality.
Right.
But it seems like Hempex is trying to combat that.
By emphasizing their process.
Exactly, that meticulous handling process.
And I see this term bag appeal thrown around a lot.
Yes.
What is the significance of that, especially when it comes to the outdoor flower?
Okay, so think of it this way. When you go to the store, are you more drawn to the, vibrant, plump fruits?
Right.
Or the ones that look a little bruised, a little,
Yeah, no, presentation matters.
Exactly. It's all about that first impression.
Okay.
And bag appeal is really just that. How visually appealing is that flower when you open the bag?
Mm-hmm.
Are the colors vibrant? Is it covered in those, tiny little crystals, the trichome?
Oh, the trichomes.
Yes.
Which, speaking of, they also mention terpenes a lot.
Yes.
What role do they play in all of this? I know they contribute to the aroma and the flavor.
Right.
But is there more to it than that?
There is. Terpenes are fascinating because they're not just in hemp.
Okay.
They're found in a lot of different plants.
Interesting.
And they're responsible for those distinct aromas and flavors.
Okay.
So when you smell that citrusy aroma from a particular strain,
Yeah.
that's the terpenes at work.
Gotcha.
But what's even more interesting is that terpenes are thought to interact with cannabinoids like CBD.
Okay.
And they can actually influence their effects.
Right.
Yeah. And this is often referred to as the entourage effect.
So it's not just about how much CBD is in a product.
Right.
It's the combination of terpenes and how they work together that creates a more well-rounded experience.
Precisely. And it seems like Hempex is really leveraging this understanding
Interesting.
by emphasizing the terpene profiles of their different strains. It just adds another layer of, sophistication to their product offering.
Right. It's they're really trying to educate the consumer
Absolutely.
on all these different aspects of hemp flower.
Exactly. It's not just about CBD anymore.
Right. It's about the whole package.
Precisely.
So they've got the cultivation down. They clearly care about quality and presentation.
Yeah.
But what about the cannabinoids themselves?
Yeah.
I mean, they offer more than just CBD, right?
They do, which we'll get into next.
So they've got the cultivation down. They clearly care about quality and presentation.
Yeah.
But what about the cannabinoids themselves?
Yeah.
They offer more than just CBD, right?
They do, which we'll get into.
Okay.
So while CBD is definitely their main thing,
Right.
they're tapping into that growing interest in other cannabinoids,
Yeah.
specifically CBG and CBDV.
Okay, so they're kind of like staying ahead of the curve.
Absolutely, yeah. And it
Yeah.
allows them to target those niche markets and kind of stand out from the competition a little bit.
They're not just another CBD company.
Exactly.
So with CBD,
Yeah,
they offer a variety of strains,
they do.
forms, indoor, outdoor. They even have key form. But what I find interesting is how they're emphasizing the different effects of each strain.
Right, because not all CBD is created equal. Right.
Exactly.
Different strains will have different effects based on their terpene profiles and things like that.
Yeah, so they're not just saying, here's CBD.
Right.
They're really trying to, like, educate the consumer on the nuances.
Exactly. They're giving you options.
Okay.
So, they highlight strains like Sour Suver Haze, which is known for being more, energizing.
Okay.
And then, something like Cherry Pie, which is going to be more on the relaxing side.
Interesting. So it's like a whole menu of CBD.
Precisely.
Okay, well, speaking of menus, what about this CBG I keep hearing about?
CBG, yeah, it's definitely having a moment.
It's like the new kid on the block.
It is, and Hempex is
Yeah.
on it, which is great.
Yeah.
Research is still emerging,
Right.
but there's a lot of excitement, a lot of buzz around its potential benefits.
Okay.
And some are even saying it could be as significant as CBD.
Wow. Okay.
So Hempex has a couple of strains that they highlight in these documents, Orange Cream
Okay.
and CBG White.
Are those kind of like their flagship CBG strains?
I think so, yeah. Orange Cream, very bright, citrusy profile,
It's just delicious.
whereas CBG White is more about that potency
Okay.
and that really classic, hemp aroma.
So they're really trying to appeal to a wide range of preferences, even within the CBG market.
Absolutely, yeah. They're
Yeah.
diversifying,
Okay.
which is smart.
Now, last but not least, we have to talk about the CBDV because they seem particularly interested in this one, especially this Forbidden V strain.
Yeah, Forbidden V, even the name is, intriguing, right?
It definitely piques your interest.
It does.
Yeah.
But in all seriousness, this is definitely their most unique offering.
Okay.
And they're really positioning it as this, premium experience,
Okay.
highlighting those potential neurological benefits.
See, and that's a whole different ballgame than just pain relief or anxiety.
Right. It's much more targeted.
Yeah.
So they're going after those markets, people who are dealing with epilepsy,
Right.
autism, things like that.
Yeah.
And they're even offering both seeded and seedless options
Interesting.
for Forbidden V. So again, just catering to those really specific preferences.
That's wild. It's like a niche within a niche.
Exactly.
So they've clearly put a lot of thought into the product line.
Yeah.
But I'm curious, with all this variety, how does pricing come into play?
Right.
Because I would imagine something like CBG or CBDV, since they're a little more rare,
Yeah. It's a good question.
they're probably priced a little higher than just your standard CBD.
So indoor is always going to be pricier just because of the production costs.
Right.
But yes, generally speaking, both CBG and CBDV are going to be a higher price point than CBD.
Makes sense. Supply and demand, right?
Exactly.
If it's rare.
If it's harder to come by, they're going to charge more for it,
Right.
which is understandable.
So they've got this great product line. It's diverse. It's interesting. But how are they actually getting the word out?
All right.
How are they reaching these different customer segments?
Right, because you can't just have a generic message anymore.
Exactly.
You got to be much more targeted.
Yeah.
And that's where I think their marketing strategy is quite clever.
Oh, okay, let's hear it. Okay, so they're segmenting their audience and tailoring their message, which makes sense.
Yeah.
But what does that look like in practice?
So I think a big part of it is that they're really trying to build trust,
Okay.
especially in an industry where there's still, some gray areas.
Right. There are definitely still some misconceptions out there about hemp and CBD and all of that.
Absolutely. And I think they're trying to kind of combat that head on
Okay.
by being very, very clear about their compliance and the purity of their products.
Which makes sense.
They're very upfront about meeting all the legal requirements.
Right.
Especially for those stricter markets like the EU, the UK.
Where the THC limits are much lower.
Exactly. And that's going to be important for consumers who are worried about,
Right.
accidentally getting something that could get them in trouble.
Yeah, absolutely.
And they're not just saying it, they're backing it up
Okay.
with third-party lab results.
Good. Transparency is key.
Exactly. So you can see for yourself, this product is clean, it's potent, It's accurately labeled,
I like it.
builds confidence.
Yeah, it does. It does. So they've got that trust established.
Right.
But how are they actually reaching these different customers?
Right.
Because like we said, they've got products for wellness enthusiasts. They've got products that are more for like the extractors.
Yeah. Are they using different channels, different
Yes,
strategies? They are. So for those wellness enthusiasts,
yeah.
it's all about the benefits, right?
Yeah.
How can you incorporate these cannabinoids into a healthy lifestyle?
Gotcha.
So think blog posts, social media content, even partnering with influencers in those spaces.
So really tapping into that audience that's already interested in natural wellness.
Exactly.
Okay.
Now, for the CBD extractors,
Yeah.
it's a whole different ballgame.
What are they doing?
We're talking bulk discounts. We're talking about the quality of their biomass.
And just to clarify for our listeners, biomass is basically the leftover plant material after they've harvested the flower.
Exactly.
And that can be used to extract cannabinoids for other products.
Right.
Yes.
Precisely. So they're marketing this biomass as like a really high quality, sustainable source for these extractors.
Okay.
So again, totally different approach, but just as strategic.
It is. It is. So they're really speaking directly to the needs of each group.
Exactly.
Now let's talk about some of those like juicier marketing tactics, like any fun bundles, any creative promotions.
Yeah, so they're definitely getting creative.
Okay.
They've talked about bundling products.
Okay.
So maybe pairing like a popular CBD strain with a sample of CBG or CBDV.
I love that.
So you can kind of try it before you commit to a whole...
It's like a little introduction
Exactly.
to the wider world of cannabinoids.
And they're also looking into subscription services.
Oh, interesting.
Which, could be
I
huge.
think very on trend, right?
It is, the subscription box for everything. But imagine, like, getting your favorite Hempex flower delivered to your door every month.
That'd be pretty nice.
Right.
Yeah, I'd subscribe to that.
And of course, we can't talk about hemp flower marketing without talking about the visuals.
Oh, of course not. Gotta have good pictures.
Gotta have those, like, really high-quality photos and videos.
Yeah.
That showcase the flower, the trichomes, the colors, all of that.
Because at the end of the day, people are drawn to what looks good.
Exactly. So it's about, like, creating that desire. You see it, you're like, I want that.
It's like you're not just selling a product, you're selling a lifestyle.
Exactly. And from what we've gathered, their strategy seems to be working.
That's good to hear.
They're attracting customers. They're building that trust. They're becoming like a leader in the industry.
That's awesome.
It is.
Well, this has been incredibly insightful.
It has.
We've really gone from seed to sale here, haven't we?
We have. We've covered a lot.
Cultivation, marketing, and everything in between.
And I think it's clear that Hempex is really like approaching this market with a lot of thought, a lot of strategy.
It's not an accident.
It's not. They're not just riding the wave. They're steering the ship.
I like that analogy.
Hopefully our listeners are walking away with a better understanding of what makes this company tick.
Yeah, what sets them apart.
Exactly.
Because like we said, this hemp industry it's moving fast.
It is. It's evolving constantly.
Yeah, there's a lot of opportunity.
So, as you explore this world, just remember.
Yeah.
Quality matters.
Yes.
Diversity of products is great.
Absolutely.
Don't be afraid to experiment.
Ask questions, do your research.
Exactly. Find what works for you.
And most importantly, enjoy the journey.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That is it for today's deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep learning.
And as always,
Stay curious.
and informed.